Hello and welcome back to Down the Track. It was Super Sunday today. Today I have with me as usual my co-host Abra Aziz. How are you doing?
Not as good as I should have been doing.
Yeah, and I mean the first game was quite upsetting for you. Sunrisers versus Rajasthan, a very close game. I think Sunrisers had it in the bag. They got the big three: Smith, Stokes, and Butler. But
Yeah,
it was Rayan Parag and Tewatia. That man again. They
yeah.
stole the show. Brilliant batting in the death overs. Sunrisers probably missed a trick or two, but. Some sensational batting, and they just pulled a rabbit out of the hat at Rajasthan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hats off to these young lads. I mean, all the youngsters coming to the party in the IPL this season. So it is good to see that. But having said that, like you said, I mean, Sunrisers had this game wrapped up and ready to go. They kind of lost it from a winning position. You'd always expect the team, because the pitches are slow. You realize that. But hats off to Tewatia and Parag. I mean, they came in at a score which they need a lot of runs to win at that time. They stuck around for 3-4 overs, just took singles, 4-5 runs and over, and then they just unleashed that Sandeep Sharma over changed the momentum in their favor. And the most important thing was the way Tawati attacked Rashid. I think that changed the game completely in the favor. You would expect, like you saw everyone, like even Puran last game, and everyone has been respecting Rashid and not going after him. And he got about 12, 13 runs, I think 12 runs. I'm pretty sure of that over. So that made it a very big difference. 13 runs of that over. So that made a very big difference for the and then there was just not enough runs in the end for the last 2 overs to handle. But close game. These can sometimes go your way, sometimes don't. The interesting thing today was both games were close, so it's nice. I mean, it's at least it was a close game, so it's good for the competition to keep such close games.
Yeah,
But that gap is now starting to extend between top four and bottom four, so that's going to be a problem.
yeah, and the drop catch as well. I think of
Of Ryan
Parag,
Parag.
yeah, of Ran Parag, that like swung the momentum in Rajasthan's
Yeah.
favor. But also, do you feel the Sunrisers bowlers they bowled a bit too full because both batsmen liked the ball in that arc? You saw Parag playing that scoop. He played a delicious shot right over Bairstow, the
Yeah.
keeper.
Yeah.
But do you think they should have bowled it maybe a bit more into the pitch because it wasn't the fastest deck? It was a bit slowing up. So maybe bowl like change it up a bit, or do you think it was the right thing to do? Is just it didn't come off for them because yes, you should hit the Yorkers as well. If it doesn't pay off, it doesn't work out. So was it that kind of day, or do you feel they should have tried something different?
I think that the Sunrisers bowling attack, with the way it's set up, is they don't really have any fast bowlers that can bowl fast speeds. So hitting the deck could go wrong for them. So they're probably not comfortable enough to do
But
that.
maybe with the cutters.
Especially, yeah, maybe they should have definitely tried something else. They kept trying to bowl it full and they were missing.
Yeah.
Every time they were missing is obviously going for 4 or 6. So you make very
Yeah,
clear.
it was
Even
the right idea. It's just that when the both
yeah,
batsmen are going on that in that zone, then
yeah.
maybe just try to
And just
do
turn it
something
around a
different.
little bit. Yeah, but it just brings me back to the importance and the reliance of missing Bhuvi. It just showed today. One, Bhuvi was very, very important, and the fact that Rashid got hit a little bit, it just keeps coming back. That's kind of changed the momentum. You
He got
expect that
hit
from
for
Sandeep.
three fours and he still gave only 25 runs in his four
That's what I'm
overs.
saying. So he was incredible. That's no doubt about
And
that,
that
as
too, he
usual.
bowled one full toss. So like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like
It's
off.
just one of those days that
Imagine
it
an
didn't
off
come
day
off.
for him. He goes for 25. Like
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those days that it didn't come off for him. So and in general the bowling unit, but they have to learn from this. I think the addition of Vijay Shankar gave that balance a little bit more, because Samad was getting tonked around a little bit, and he didn't do much with the bat. So it is important to see how this is the probably the better lineup to go with, because it gives you that little bit more balance in Abhishek Sharma and Shankar, who are better bowlers. I don't want to take anything away from Samad. He's been, for whatever little chances he's got, he's looked okay. But he will improve. He's a youngster. He will improve. But there is that gaping hole of trying to have that fifth bowler. That's going to be
hmm.
a problem, I think. And these are the kind of issues that separate the top four from the bottom four. You see, like, these gaping holes. CSK has that gaping hole in the top order or the batting, and Punjab just to kind of after the first two three people. So these gaping holes will create that issue, and that's kind of what will be the problem, I think. And just think about Rajasthan on the other hand. But Butler and Stokes, I mean, to open the batting at Steve Smith, I mean, you kind of, if they can take some confidence off of this game, they can suddenly keep the tournament alive for themselves. They're suddenly now at 6 points, at sixth position now, so not too far behind the eight ball. But I think it'll be interesting to see how this tournament goes. It's just nice for the tournament that people are not getting kicked out so early. Like Punjab's probably the only team that's really out of it right now. So
Yeah, but yeah, speaking about Rajasthan, like they'll take a lot of confidence actually because the main players didn't fire, and if they start firing, then they
Yeah,
can beat the big teams as well. They have that capability.
yeah.
So I think this win will give them a lot of confidence, and the youngsters stepped up, and Tewatia as well, like excellent contribution. So, and if you have the likes of Ben Stokes and Butler. With the big innings and the big contributions, then they'll probably give some big teams some tough times as well.
I agree 100%. I just feel like they should try with Robin Uthappa to go open the innings with Butler and have Steve Smith at 3 and just play Stokes at 4. It just gives you a little bit more balance. Stokes is not your opening batsman. I think that makes more
Yeah.
sense. If you want to use Robin Uthappa in this team, you probably use him over there
Yeah,
versus
because it
and
was
then
a
keep.
risk. You're right. Because I mean, it paid off today, but hit like you wouldn't expect someone like Parag or Tewatia to hit Rashid Khan. So
Yeah,
it did pay off today, but
yeah.
it was a risk.
Exactly. And sorry, you have Samson at 4. You just keep Stokes at 5 as more of your kind of middle order finisher kind of player, and he can do that for you. He's done it in the past with England. He's probably your more better off at number 4, 5, which is perfect for them because you open with Robin Uthappa, Butler, you go Smith at 4, Samson at 5, and Stokes at sorry, Samson at Smith at 3, Samson at 4, and Stokes at 5, and then you have the likes of Parag and Tewatia coming in to do what they need to do. Okay, gives I just feel it gives Rajasthan more balance, so that'll help them out. So I just feel like that, and like you said, this is an incredible victory for them because this is done on the back of 2 youngsters. This is the kind of victory that Sunrisers got against Chennai when Parag and
Yeah,
Abhishek Sharma went crazy. Sorry,
Garg, yeah,
Priyam Garg and Abhishek Sharma went crazy. So it might just light them up and just keep that tournament open for them. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
yeah. And lastly on this game, the batting wise for Sunrisers, do you think they were a few runs short? But in the end, it didn't look like they were short. It's just that
Yeah.
there's some excellent batting. Because the way they bowled, they blew off the top order very easily. So I mean,
Yeah.
the top order did a better job in terms of the batting, but maybe some impetus in the middle overs when Pandey was batting.
Yeah, I think definitely 10 to 10 15 run shots. I think that they had that in them to be able to just jump that up a little bit, that speed. A slow start didn't help. So maybe a few more runs here and there. But I think definitely about 10 15 runs short, that would have made that difference, of course, in the end.
Yeah.
If they had, let's say, 170 as a target versus a 159, it would have been a significant difference, I think. So, yes, definitely missed a trick over there to just maybe step it up a little bit quicker because you saw that Williamson and Garg came in the end and were able to like uh, ta- get it up a notch. But yeah, definitely something they will have to think about for sure. I think Pandey had a good innings, but even Warner, he still looks like he's struggling for form, even though he's been hitting it and getting those runs. He's not the enforcer this season that you've seen Sunrisers get used to. And
Hmm.
I've been critical of him. He's been getting the runs, but it's just that you're so used to him being the enforcer and really take the ball at least in the first 6 overs, just hit it out of the park more often than he has been this season. So
Yeah,
just
and I think as the weather cools down as well, it'll help these guys. But also the slow surfaces, they're not used to it, so
yeah.
I think it'll take some adjusting. And the middle overs is where maybe he needs to accelerate a bit more. But definitely, I think he is a quality batsman, so he will adapt.
Yeah, of course he'll definitely adapt. There's no doubt about that.
Your player of the match.
So I have to give it to Tivatia, right? It's because he,
What were you
uh,
telling? You're saying something about him before the podcast.
no, he's a good lad. So like good for him.
But yeah, I mean, we saw in his interview he had after the game he had a confrontation with Khalil that probably ticked off a lot of Sunrisers fans. So that's what I was referring to. But I
Yeah,
think he said that happened heat of the moment and everything. But
yeah, yeah.
he's a different type of player. But like he's a guy like Rajasthan probably like is very useful to Rajasthan.
Absolutely, he's a good all round option for them. He's a hungry cricketer. He wants to prove a point. He's been in and out of a lot of sides. He hasn't been getting consistency. This is kind of helping him out. So good for him.
Yeah, so he's your man of the match.
I have to give it to him, unfortunately, because he won the game. So it's
Yeah,
just
it's between him and Ryan Parag. I think
yeah, kind of. I think you had to give fair shot for both of them out. But I think Tewadia kind of was the more aggressor, especially
because
that
what he did
Rashid
to
Khan over.
Rashid Khan. Yeah.
So that kind of just gives him an edge over there.
Yeah, I think that wraps up that game, Sunrise versus Rajasthan. And then going to the top of the table clash, top of the summit, it was Delhi Capitals versus Mumbai Indians. Another comprehensive win for Mumbai. I mean, it was close in the end, but they look like such a strong unit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is just an incredible team that just doesn't look like there seems like there's no weakness. Like we were talking about, everyone having a small issue here and there. This team doesn't have any weakness. You know, today Delhi's weakness, they showed that extra spinner. They missed that a little bit. That one extra bowler, that Harsha Patel was getting hit for a run. Stoinis didn't come up as good backup for him. They didn't finish Akshar Patel's overs because they were a little scared he might just get beaten up, might get uh,
Ahead, yeah.
beaten for runs. I mean,
Yeah.
but but so there was that little bit of a worry over there. You could see that they missed Amit Mishra today. He would have been a good player for them to have in these kind of situations. So that is, like, if you're very critical of Delhi's performance, that's probably one thing that you can look at.
Yeah.
But Mumbai, they have whatever they need to. Like, I mean, every single one of them is coming and performing. The addition of Surya Kumar Yadav, who's starting to be consistent for this team over the past couple of years, has been immense for this team. Quinton de
Another
Kock
class
is
innings.
absolutely, and Quinton de Kock's giving you those starts now. If Rohit's failing, Rohit is giving you. If Quinton's failing, then you have Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, good Indian batsmen who are coming in and running, hitting those runs. And then you have the Pollard and Pandya brothers. I mean, what is that? Like, how are you going to like get past this team? They don't even care about who plays 8, 9, 10, 11 because it doesn't ever go there. You've really never seen Mumbai
I think
lose more
that
than five or
gave the
six wickets.
confidence to Dekok and Surya Kumar too, because Surya Kumar Yadav, when he got out, if there was another team, they could have been in trouble. But
Yeah,
he played that shot knowing probably that he has these guys behind him.
yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think he would have gone for that kind of shot at that time when he got out.
Critical though, if you have to be very critical of him, he didn't need that. He should have
Yeah, he
finished the
didn't,
game
and
off.
but I
Yeah,
think he went for that because of that
yeah.
like confidence in the middle
Correct.
order.
And I think that's what I think the think tank has given them that freedom. Is like, you know what, even if you guys get out, it's fine. Just keep trying to up the run rate or whatever you need to do at the time, I guess. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what they went with, because even Ishan Kishan, both these guys could have easily finished the game off. They could have seen it off, but they went for the aggressor role, and Hardik Pandya also got out early.
Mhm.
So, but I think the only thing that this team has is Bolt, Bumrah, and Chahar are kind of weak batters. That's probably, but it doesn't really matter because they're 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah.
But if you see some of the other teams, they can actually bat till 9, 10 also if
Yeah.
needed. But I think in your T20 game, if your first seven can't win you the game, then 8, 9, 10 shouldn't also win you the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's
so I
a
think they've
excellent
gone
point.
with that. Yeah, they've gone with that mindset that, you know what, your top seven are so strong and so solid that they can go in with proper good bowling unit in Bumrah, Bolt, Pattinson, and Chahar, and with Kronal and Pollard giving you that fifth bowling option, which is much better than some of the other teams. Like the fifth bowling option, like for example, we discussed Sunrisers. You're comparing a Vijay Shankar and Abhishek Sharma to Pollard and Kronal Pandya. So see that significant difference over there. So that's probably the difference. I mean, that's uh, a very clear issue in that's why they're top of the table, and Sunrisers struggling in the middle. So something
Yeah.
for them to keep an eye out for. But hats off to Mumbai. Well done to them. Looking very very strong. They will have a couple of bad games where they'll slip up, but I think this team looks solid. Absolutely solid.
Yeah. And do you think the turning point for the game was Marcus Stoinis' run out in the first innings?
I think so. I think Shikhar Dhawan should take the blame for it because he gave him that yes, and then suddenly realized that he wouldn't make it.
Yeah,
So gave
I
him the
mean,
no.
Dhawan finished off the
But
innings, but he probably wouldn't. He didn't have the same impact Stoinis would have had if he stayed there.
absolutely, absolutely,
Maybe
and
a 180,
Stoinis.
190 score would have been on the cards if Stoinis stayed there.
Absolutely, I think that there was a definite possibility. Dhawan wasn't able to. I mean, yes, he stayed the whole innings and he scored a decent run. He scored decent runs, but they were definitely 15 runs short. So that kind of showed in the end, because 169 versus a 175, 180 would have been significantly more better for Delhi to chase.
Yeah. And Delhi, like you said, the bowling was the issue, but batting wise, they missed Rishabh Pant today. And did you agree with the Hetmeyer? I think they didn't have a choice, but Hetmeyer, after coming off a good game, got replaced by Carey. So, do you think once Pant is back, that will change back?
I think so. I think they don't have a choice. I think they had to go with Carrion as a specialist wicketkeeper because I don't know if they have anyone else in the bank. I can't remember, but they didn't want to like mess around with like the combination of this team, so they had to go with and Carey, who can also do that batting job that Hetmeyer provides, and do wicket keeping as well. So I think that's going to be an issue. Uh, if you there was a little bit of a discussion about trying to bring Sandeep Lamichhane in, but that's going to be a big issue because he's a foreign player, so I kind of might mess with the balance of this team. So just a couple of thinking points for Delhi, which is good for them to have these kind of issues to kind of think about and see how they want to address them. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out of this one into the next.
Yeah. And your player of the match.
Surya Kumar Yadav.
Surya Kumar Yadav.
What a
Classy
player,
innings,
man. What a
classy
player.
innings.
He's just beautiful all around. Kind of, again, a little bit like Dinesh Karthik's innings, or in general, the more ABD kind of innings that we are used to. He hits it behind the wicket keeper also, and he hits it straight well. He just hits it all around the park, and it looks beautiful when you watch him play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I just said talent. He always had the talent. We knew that, but he was inconsistent. But now I think he started to become a little bit more consistent as well. That has really helped him, and I think Indian team is knocking on. He's going to knock on the Indian team doors very soon.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
the
lot.
issue that I have. Sorry, I didn't want to break you off. This
No,
is the
no.
issue that I have with Samson. I think there's a lot of talent as well, but he's not consistent. You've noticed that again. He's struggling after the first couple of very good games. He's struggling, but Surya Kumar Yadav has taken it up that notch. So that makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. I think consistency is the key, right? And
Yeah.
he's showing it in this team where there are a lot of stars. If he's shining in that's I mean, credit to him. Like, it's not
Yeah.
easy to do that when you have the likes of Pollard there, Rohit Sharma. You can be easily like underwhelmed and like be nervous, but he's still shining in that team. So
Yep.
I think a lot of credit to him
100%.
for that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think yeah, we wrapped up that game. Any last thoughts about that game?
No, I think it's going to be interesting to see who beats this Mumbai side now.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think moving on to tomorrow's game, it's in Sharjah. Royal challenges Bangalore, coming off an impressive win with their captain leading the way against the Kolkata Knight Riders. Your thoughts about this game?
Man, if Virat plays like he's playing, I think that Bangalore will win this one easily. KKR is coming out of an issue with Russell. They have to see how he's doing, and with that Narayan issue of that report action and stuff like that. So there'll be a few question marks in that
They might
team.
not be playing.
Some hesitance. I don't know. They might still play Narayan. They might. He's allowed to bowl. He can
Okay.
bowl. He's just been reported, so he has to be careful. I guess if there's like 2 or 3 reports, that's when they'll kind of take him off the attack or something of the sort. So he's still allowed to bowl. Russell's injury, there's not really any update about that, so we'll have to see how bad it is. So we'll have to see how that goes. So they are coming out of a couple of question marks versus Bangalore coming out of a very, very professional and solid performance. So there's different mindsets going into this game. So that's kind of why I probably give Bangalore a little bit of an edge in this one.
Yeah, and it's in Sharjah.
Yeah,
Hope.
but the pitches are slowing up, so I'm starting to. I hope they have a couple of good tracks ready just for the second half of the tournament, so you can see like some 200 run games again. So it's always fun to see everyone every now and again a 200 run being scored. It's just fun.
Yeah, and for RCB, like we talked about yesterday, the Finch players are now contributing and everything, so that's taking the pressure off Kohli and AB.
Yeah.
And do you feel their bowling is better now with Morris and Udana there supporting Chahal?
100%. I mean, Morris had an absolutely incredible game, no doubt about that. It's his first game back, and he really showed that why he's this T20 great that everyone has been banking on. Delhi had been banking on him for a while. They had let him go because they had different plans. But Bangalore, he comes in 4 overs, 19 runs, 3 wickets. Yeah, that team suddenly it looks very, very balanced. I would consider, like I said before, I've always been saying this. I think consider Moeen Ali coming in for a Finch. I know it's hard, but it's just something that they might want to consider and just see
To
how
open with
that
Kohli, you
open
could
with
open with
Kohli.
Moy, or you can open with Moeen
Exactly,
Ali. Yeah,
exactly. Just open with Moeen Ali and just go with that flow, or you can open Kohli if you feel like you don't want to go Moeen Ali up front right there. You
that's
can go
actually
ahead.
a good shout.
Yeah, so just because Finch has been struggling, he hasn't really taken off this tournament. I mean, maybe give him a game or two more, but if he doesn't, then there's a quality player who's sitting like he's a top class T20 player, white ball cricketer. He's T20 or 50 over game. He's your main go to guy. Uh, if he is not going to continue to play, I think some of the other teams that are a little bit in danger of can consider that using him as your mid-season player to kind of trade also,
Can you tell
because
me
he's
a
played
bit
only.
more about that? Like, coming up very soon, right?
It's gonna happen next week, I believe. There's gonna be the opportunities. It's gonna be very interesting to see how teams approach it. If there are teams like who are on the fringes like a Sunrisers or a Rajasthan who need to enforce their team. Everyone knows Sunrisers has that middle order issue, that extra bowler issue. So someone like a Bangalore would want to give it to Sunrisers or no, that's a question that remains to be seen. You have to think about how that one goes. But a Moeen Ali, they do have a Nabi that they can use also, who's similar. I think it's
But
it's
other
about
teams will
combinations.
definitely look at him as
Some
well.
of the other teams will consider him as an
Yeah.
option that they can consider, that they can look into. So it'll be interesting to see how this is the first time. So everyone's probably just figuring it out. But it's a very good concept. I think that this really opens up a new dimension to this tournament, and if someone can use it smartly, I think it'll be very good.
Yeah, definitely. And your player to watch out for tomorrow from each team.
Um, Morgan for Kolkata, because I think he needs to step it up a bit. I'm being a little bit critical of him. He's had a couple of good innings, but I think just to step it up a little bit more and give that more stability in that middle order. And For Bangalore, Virat Kohli, man, I just want to see if he can continue doing that what he did in the last game.
Yeah, and you're predicting a RCB win.
I'm giving RCB a slight edge. Yeah,
How things change. You know what it is like. They had a very similar team last year, and now they're like they turned it around with one or two minor changes. Like
yeah,
Devdutt Padikkal and
yeah.
like a Saini in the death overs bowling well. Like it just takes like a twist, like a turn of the knob, and things come into your favor.
I still don't think I still don't hold them that they will win the competition, but I think they'll make the playoffs
Yeah,
this
but if you
season.
compare the performances from last 2 3 years, like I mean, this year is completely different. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't have predicted an RCB win last year, I don't think.
I expected them not to make the top four, honestly, but it's 2020. Anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we wrapped up everything for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Any last thoughts?
No, I think tomorrow's game is going to make that the top three at 10 points,
Yeah.
and then the fourth team is going to be at 8, and then there are two people languishing at 6 that kind of trying to get that. So it's good. Tournaments opened up pretty nicely for that, at least for that last couple of spots as well. But nothing's over. Even still, like even Delhi and Mumbai can have a rough patch for about 3 or 4 games, and still be open. So it's just good for the tournament that through halfway through, like almost nobody is out. Even mathematically, Punjab can win the next 7 of 7 and make the team. Kind of. So it's just fun to see that. So
Yeah. If it's a fresh pitch, do you see a 250 score on the cards with Russell there, AB there, Kohli
if
there,
Russell's in
Morgan?
there, yeah. Well, if RCB bat first and if it's a fresh pitch, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a 250
High
score.
scoring game, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot will depend on the pitch tomorrow, but either way, there will be boundaries there. Like it's a small ground anyway,
Yeah.
so like
Even if there's some used pitches, I think 160, 170 is almost a given in a Sharjah pitch. So
charge of it, yeah. So it'll be interesting, but yeah, it'll be a fun watch. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll catch you tomorrow after the game.
yep, absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.